Hello and welcome to Learning Without Tears, Ask an OT. I'm Katrina Erickson and I'm an occupational therapist with 30 years of experience. I've spent the majority of my career specializing in helping children, working on handwriting development and other school readiness skills. Today, I'm going to ask a question that was sent to us on Facebook. And here's the question. It says, how can I help a child increase pressure on the pencil when writing? Well, that's a great question. Lots of people have that question, but what we need to first understand is how a child uses or understands pressure with their body. The ability to grade pressure when they're writing or coloring or drawing comes from the body's ability to rely on information from its proprioceptive system. Now, that's just a fancy word for how our bodies receive information from our muscles and joints. It helps us be able to coordinate and grade our movement so that we use just the right amount of force and pressure. And for children, what they need to do is sometimes prime that system, wake it up and get it ready. And others need some extra practice with those types of activities to help build that system so that they know just the right amount of force and pressure. So I'm going to share some quick fun activities for you to use with students for these. Now, the first thing you might want to do is some animal walks. Animal walks are great. So are yoga poses. What about good old-fashioned, wheelbarrow walking that we used to do back in the day, or even doing wall push-ups. Now, these activities can really help your students build their upper body strength and the sensory system that those muscles and joints rely on to give us information about pressure. Now, something else you can do is good old-fashioned tug of war. You could do tug of war with a towel, a beach towel, a smaller towel. You could even do tug of war with your fingers, okay, to develop an appropriate amount of pressure and strength. Now, any type of outdoor play such as climbing or play that requires pushing and pulling is really going to help develop that muscle sense as well as a sense that we get from our joints about pressure. Now, in addition to preparing their bodies, certain children will benefit from certain strategies that will help them develop the understanding that their body needs for force. And some of those activities are coloring. Coloring is a great way for children to experience pressure and force. So for those who press too hard, try to emphasize lightening up on the pressure so that the color becomes more see-through. And while I'm talking about coloring, think about markers that are in their hands. Markers are not the best tool for a child to experience pressure because it doesn't matter how hard or how light they press on a marker. Crayons are best, okay? Now, you also want to check their grip. Do they use a correct grip? And if you need more information about grip, feel free to visit our website and learn more about teaching grip correctly. Make sure that they're not building up force and tension in their hands when they're gripping the pencil, and maybe teach them to kind of shake it off and let that pressure out. Don't let the pressure build in their grip. Now, using mechanical pencils can be super helpful for some children that press too hard because they get immediate feedback. When they break the lead, they see they press too hard. But for other children, it doesn't work that well. They have a hard time making the connection between the amount of pressure that they're pressing and the lead breaking, and it just leads to more frustration. So if you try that strategy, use it with a little bit of caution and knowing that it can cause frustration. Now, you can also, for children that have not enough pressure, so there's the opposite side of that problem. Children who barely use enough pressure when they're writing. Again, coloring's the best option for them. It really sets them up for being able to press harder, right? So make sure that you are using coloring for both types, pressing too hard and too light. And the same thing goes for markers, as I said earlier. Now, carbon sheets are a really nice way for immediate feedback for children with pressure problems that press too light, because if they don't press hard enough, they don't get to make a copy of what it is that they're tracing or drawing. Now, if you don't have access to readily made carbon sheets, you can make your own carbon sheet by having a child just, color with a colored pencil or even a crayon or even a pencil and shade on the back of their paper before they start to color and draw, because then it will leave an imprint on another sheet of paper. Now, another thing that you want to do is make sure that your students with light pressure have a nice firm surface to press against. That gives them a lot of feedback about their pressure. So I like to insert like a clipboard or a firm piece of cardboard, like the back of a spiral notebook is perfect. If you've got a used spiral notebook, cut off that last page. It's nice and firm, and teach them to place that in between the pages in their notebook so that they have a nice firm surface to press against. Two other options I have for you for light pressures are using a soft leaded pencil. That helps with some children that have light pressure, and also playing with things like the vibrating pencils, the ones that are like squiggle wiggles, they vibrate around in your hand. A child with light pressure really has to grip it with more strength and force to help control it, and it helps them to learn how to do that a little bit better. All right, so I hope that you found some of these activities helpful for your children that have pressure issues, and if you have a question for us, be sure to send it to us, and we may just feature your question on our next issue of Ask an OT.